Good morning or afternoon, I'm not sure which it is, but I'm Kara Maciel. I was here yesterday. I represent the National Grocers Association, which is the independent sector of the grocery industry. NGA members are comprised of both unionized and non-unionized workplaces, and many of whom enjoy positive labor relations with their union counterparts. But above all, NGA strongly supports the rights of their employees to make an informed decision on whether or not to be represented by a union. And the only way for employees to make such an informed decision is by having election processes and procedures that provide a full and fair opportunity to hear the views of both the union and the employer. And NGA submits that the NPRM, reducing the timing of the election, silences the employer's protected 8C rights and chills the Section 7 rights of employees. And in particular, NGA opposes the reduction of the scheduling of an election because there's no legitimate evidence supporting a need to hasten the time leading to the election, and certainly nothing supported by empirical evidence from the board. We heard some statistics earlier from the other panels, and I will not repeat them, but there are a couple of other statistics that demonstrate that there's no objective basis to declare that the median time of 38 days, or even 60 days, to prepare for and hold an election amounts to unnecessary delay. And I would note that the word unnecessary was frequently used in the majority's point up to 23 times. And NGA submits that it's the NPRM that is unnecessary and not changes. Since 2001, the board's internal guidelines are to hold elections with a median of 42 days and to have 90% of those done within 56 days. Under your performance and accountability report, the board has a statutory responsibility to resolve all questions concerning representation in a manner that gives full effect to the rights afforded to all parties under the Act. And you fulfill that responsibility when you resolve questions within 100 days. You've consistently met that goal, and in the past 5 years have resolved at least 84% of all questions concerning representation within that 100 days. This past year was your best year yet. You resolved 87.4% of all elections within 100 days. Accordingly, those statistics conclusively establish that the board is just looking to solve a problem that doesn't exist, and there's no reason to change the current timing of the election. Why do you need to fundamentally transform a long-standing process at the heart of your statutory role when by your own statistics and measurements the current process exceeds your standards? As the old adage goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In the face of these statistics, NGA submits that the NPRM is like a house of cards, relying on a faulty premise that accelerated elections are somehow superior to those conducted after a thorough debate. But hasty decisions are not good decisions. Free speech is the cornerstone of the Act's statutory protections, and the proposal eviscerates an employee's opportunity to become fully informed. Instead of deliberately evaluating all relevant information, employees will be rushed into voting without a full opportunity to receive facts, contemplate the consequences of their decision, and make an informed choice whether to be represented by a union. Common sense dictates that the greater the time an individual has to inform him or herself and to reflect upon and consider all aspects of a decision, the more likely the decision will be a true reflection of that individual's interests. The notion that faster equals better is counterintuitive because it conflicts with the basic premise that a secret ballot should be informed by a full, free, and vigorous debate, and that more and not less opportunities for exchange of information and ideas is beneficial when someone is making an important decision that will impact fundamentally their life and livelihood. Employees faced with making such an important workplace decision should be able to do so in an environment conducive to reflection and thought, and not one that sacrifices deliberation for speed. Remember that employees must live with the consequences of their vote for at least 12 months, depending on the result of the election. And measured by the length and consequences of that decision, the current time, the median time, is very appropriate. NGA is also very concerned about the consequences of AC and implications on free speech that has been well discussed by prior members of the board, and I won't repeat what they said, but we wholeheartedly support what they said. And even the Supreme Court just last week pronounced in McCutcheon versus FEC that free speech is tempered by resources, And if the government limits resources, including the amount of time and to whom an employer can communicate to, the First Amendment is violated. In sum, the push for accelerated elections cannot stand on its own merit, as the NPRM has failed to identify a single problem to which the proposed solution is responsive. In fact, by any measure, whether it's historical or gauged by your own current goals and internal guidelines, the existing system is working very well. Accordingly, NGA respectfully urges the board to withdraw its proposal. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Now, you would agree that the focus of much of the NPRM deals with the process as it goes into the representation proceeding, from petition through the representation proceeding up and ultimately into the election. The vast majority of elections that are held are uncontested elections. Would, in your view, it be appropriate for employees to have to wait 3 to 5 months to get the opportunity to vote?
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying or that NGA is saying. What we're saying is that the current timing demonstrates that the system is working very well as is, and there's no need to change or reduce the time because of the serious implications that would be impacted in addition to the free speech rights of employees and the Section 7 rights of employees.
Would you endorse that we build in a campaign period into our regulations?
I don't think you need to change the regulations at all because, as I mentioned, they're working very well. Employers have an opportunity to communicate to employees. Employees have an opportunity to communicate to fellow employees. It's like a jury. When you get in a jury room, oftentimes all the jury members make an initial vote. And sometimes it's 8-1 or it's not unanimous. But after a thorough opportunity to review the evidence that was set forth, communicate with their fellow jurors, and have a vigorous debate, oftentimes people's votes change. And that's what this process is intended to protect. And hastening the time will impede upon that right of employees and employers.
You talked about the lack of empirical evidence supporting the proposal of the NPRM. Is there any empirical evidence that you're relying on with respect to what effect reducing the opportunity for an employer to campaign against unionization has on the employees' free choice?
I'm not aware of any empirical evidence that has been conducted with respect to the amount of time that an employer may need to communicate with its employees after a petition, and I would submit that that would be a good thing for the board to consider before making any changes.
I see. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Lunchtime.